Hello everybody, it's Peter McLaughlin with BlueSky Hypnosis. Welcome to another Friday Live at 5. Really glad you could be here again with me this Friday. Today we're going to be talking about relationships. The subtitle on the promo that I put out is I Am Worthy of Love. And before we get into that, just some standard business, which is disclaimer. I'm not holding myself up as a relationship expert. What I'm really seeking to do is to share with you the results of working with people over the past 14 years. I'm a hypnotist and a life coach, and talking about what I have seen as being really successful for people who have been struggling with relationships. Now, like anything else, it doesn't mean that suddenly, you're not going to have any issues in your life and your life's going to be perfect. It's certainly not for me. So from that perspective, I'm offering up my observations and what I feel like I've learned. Is it the perfect advice? Probably not. But if it's helpful, that is more than enough as far as I'm concerned. And as I normally exhort people, if you have questions, if you have comments, please feel free to put them in the chat bar. I go through that periodically during this time that we have together, and it always makes this broadcast way more interesting. It turns it into more of a conversation rather than just a one-way monologue. People will often ask questions or make comments that frequently take the direction of what we're discussing in an entirely new direction, things that I hadn't really considered talking about on that day. So please feel free to add those as they occur to you. Also, if you have ideas about future Live at 5s, please send those to me as well. I've been relying on a lot of the people who attend regularly, and for those of you, you know who you are. I hope you're all here today. For those of you who are new, welcome to you too. But again, with those ideas that you can suggest, if there are things that you want to see, please feel free to send those along. Suggest them here in the chat, send me an email, peter@BlueSky and we'll see if we can get that going. It's not an easy task for me to come up with different topics every week that I think people are going to be interested in. So when I can hear from you, it really makes a big difference. All right, so I want to start with just asking, do you love yourself? Do you know if you love yourself? What does it mean actually to love yourself? And what does it mean to love yourself completely? Because I feel that, and we'll talk about this a lot today, that a loving relationship with someone else hinges upon the foundation of which I believe is actually loving yourself. So I want to make that case today, and I want to talk later, give you some examples of this, like from the work that I've done, and also to talk about things that you can do in your own life to get to this place, if you're not already there, in order to not only improve your own quality of life, but also to improve your relationships. And we'll talk about all the reasons why I think that that's the case. And again, some of the examples of the people that I've worked with who started in one place where they weren't satisfied with the way their relationship was, or with having no relationships, and they moved into an entirely different place, the place that they always wanted to be, but they just couldn't get there until we found the key that kind of unlocked the door. All right, so when I think of loving yourself, this term, worthy of love, has returned to me over and over again in the past 14 years of working with my clients in my hypnosis and life coaching practice. And what I've found is that people who don't fully love themselves are generally people that on some subconscious level don't believe they are worthy of love. And one of the interesting things to consider in all of this, if you ask yourself, what is love? What is worthiness of love? I want to pop up this picture because I think that it explains exactly what worthy of love is. Where did it go? That's weird. Huh. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Okay, excellent. This, to me, this is the picture of a person who loves themselves. A person who, by dint of what they're exuding, they obviously feel worthy of love. And I realize in some extreme instances, in some sad cases, that may not be true for all babies. But I think for most of us who have either had our own children or we have encountered babies in our work or in our extended families or with our friends, you see a picture like this. And I think you can be pretty sure that this person loves themselves and loves themselves completely. And I think that somewhere along the way, we all got the message that in order to be worthy of love, that we had to do something of value. In other words, we had to produce something of value, like we had to get a really prestigious job, or we had to become famous, or we had to get the corner office, or we had to make a lot of money, or we had to consume something of value. Hey, Pete, that's a really nice, beautiful new car you have over there. Or, you know, wow, that partner that you have is so beautiful, that arm candy. Or, you know, that's an amazing trip that you took. Or, my God, you know, your third house is more beautiful than the other two. And so I think that this happens through earnest caregivers. I think this happens through society. We keep getting the message over and over again that to have value, to be worthy of love, we have to produce or consume something of value. Now, with this baby, obviously, the baby hasn't produced anything of value. They've consumed nothing of value. They consume baby food and diapers. You know, they don't have a job. They have no bank account. They have no income. They're not famous. They can't even speak the English language. And yet, look at these babies. They just smile ear to ear. They're glowing with love. As adults, we love to be in their presence because I think it awakens or reminds us of this ancient part of us that just truly and fully loved ourselves because we were babies too. And somewhere along the way, this all was kind of knocked out of us. You know, and again, I'm not necessarily blaming anyone. You know, I think as parents, when you have a child and the child, you know, brings home an A, maybe you show more excitement than when they bring home a C. Or when they hit, you know, a home run in the Little League game, maybe you show more excitement than when they strike out or something like that. And I think that kind of goes all the way along down the line. And so I think subconsciously we keep getting the message, wow, okay, so the people I really care about get all excited when I get an A or when I hit a home run. And conversely, they're not quite so excited when I strike out or I bring home a C or a D. Therefore, I keep getting this message that if I want to feel this feeling on the inside, I have to go outside of myself in order to retrieve it, in order to find it. And what I would submit to you is that is exactly the behavior of a drug addict. The drug addict looks outside himself or herself for a person that can provide a substance that will allow them to feel this temporary feeling of, oh, that feels so good. Probably not that much different, really, when you think about it, than if you or I do buy that brand new car. And we were like, wow, I have this beautiful, it's a car of my dream. Oh man, this is amazing. And all my friends are talking about it, And 2 weeks later, what happens? I slide right back to where I was before. I think that's kind of like drugs. You know, a person takes a sip, a drink or an injection or a pill. And for a short period of time, you're like, oh man, there's that feeling. This feels so good. And then what? Well, the next thing is crash. And I would say the universe wants balance. So when an alcoholic or a drug addict, we say they go high, right? When they get that feeling, they go high. Well, what happens next? Next morning, they crash. They go really, really low. They go way down. So I know I'm kind of rambling here. I hope I'm making some sense. And I'm going to dive into these comments and questions because thank you so much. I'm so glad you guys are here and making these comments and questions and make this way more interesting. But I think it starts to get to a point that I want to make, which is I think that there's a distinction between who you are and what you do. And I think baby knows exactly about this, because the baby, lying there with a huge smile on her face, just wearing diapers, looking up and cooing at everyone, is obviously not deriving those feelings based upon what baby has done. Because baby's too little to have done anything. There's clearly a notion that the baby has that she is already what I would call magnificent, and she knows it. And my deep, 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 deep suspicion is that she is so close to what our permanent home is, whether you call it heaven or the afterlife or the interlife or the life between lives or Eden or Valhalla or a million other names. That's our permanent home. On this planet, we're here for a very short period of time. It's like a semester of college. And baby hasn't forgotten her true essence, her true nature, which is perfect love, perfect magnificence, and she brings that in with her. All right, let's see what we have here in terms of questions and comments that I might be able to start jumping into. All right, so I just love the way you guys greet each other in this burgeoning community. You can't, I think, really fully appreciate how much this means to me, how awesome it is that you guys are establishing your own connections with each other and lifting each other up and supporting each other. I think it's absolutely fantastic and heartwarming. Okay, so yeah, this is great. AW Root Beer is here. Legal Eagle 44, Dara O'Sullivan, Soft Breezy Day, Christine Calliston, Janice Nickel. It's awesome to see you guys. Veronica Cruz, shout out to all of you. So glad you're here, one and all. Okay, so Legal Eagle 44, Peter, I loved and chased love. Let's put that up over here. My caretakers in hopes they would love me. Never did I love myself just for being me. Okay. Excellent, excellent, excellent point. I'm so glad that you made this. And I think what happens is that, as I said before, when we're little, we start to notice maybe what gets a response and what doesn't. And we start thinking that everything we want and need is outside of ourselves. And look, I'm not saying that relationships aren't absolutely 100% vital, critical to our health and our well-being. I'm just trying to say, and the point I'm going to be trying to make today, is that it begins on the inside. So I used to be in professional sales. I know, I've done a lot of different things in my life, and it's probably kind of, I called it schizophrenic for a while until I felt like I found my true path. Yes, I've done a lot of different things. Anyway, I was in professional sales for quite some time. And what I would say is, if my job was to sell you this travel mug, and I thought this travel mug was a piece of crap, I would have an inordinately difficult time trying to sell that travel mug. Why? Because I didn't know all the features and benefits? No. It would be because despite anything I said about it, my true feelings about it, that I think it's crap, would leak through via my body language and the other aspects of my nonverbal communication. So body language is one broad category of nonverbal communication. The other broad category of nonverbal communication would be my vocal tone, cadence, pitch, timbre, volume, silences, right? So I think I've given this example before on a Friday Live. If I said, "Have a nice day," I could say it just like I said it, and you might think, oh, what an earnest, nice man, or whatever. But if I said, "Have a nice day," I've just changed the meaning by like 180 degrees. I've gone from earnest, where you're probably going to interpret what I said as, oh, he hopes that I have a nice day, to, wow, what a jackass. Right? So vocal tone, cadence, pitch, volume, silences, along with body language. So the expression on my face and the way I said it. These are the tools. This is the province of the actor. This is what actors do to communicate meaning. They don't just get up on the stage and read, from a book or memorize their lines and just say them. They're actually putting intention and emotion behind what they're saying, which then shades and colors the words and can change a phrase like "have a nice day" from you think, oh, what a nice person, to "have a nice day," where you want to punch the person in the mouth. Okay, so if I don't believe that this is a valuable tool and it's my job to sell it, in fact, if I think it's crap and it's my job to sell it, all of my true feelings about it are going to leak out to you through my body and through my vocal tone, cadence, pitch, timbre, and so on of my voice. Now, you don't even have to be a body language expert to understand, like I gave you in that example before of have a nice day, to start getting a feeling about me. It is said in sales that the first sale you make is to yourself. In other words, if you can't believe in what you're selling, how am I supposed to believe in what you're selling? Where am I going with this? I'm saying that, just take dating, for example. When you are dating, it is like you are auditioning for a role as an actor. It is like you are interviewing for a job in a company. It is like you are selling a product to a prospect or a customer. The proof? Because most people are going to put, quote unquote, their best foot forward. They're not just going to be themselves and roll out of bed without taking a shower or combing their hair or looking twice in the mirror or maybe deciding on what they're going to wear to that date. And what do they talk about on the date? Are they going to immediately start talking about, I don't know, things that aren't so flattering about themselves? Or are they going to put their best foot forward? They're going to put their best foot forward, which is kind of like, here's my best side, and I hope that you accept and like me. And conversely, the other person is doing the same thing. Now, even if a person's intention were to put their best foot forward, quote unquote, in the dating process and in the process of having a relationship, that person is invariably, both people are invariably going to be revealing their true feelings about themselves unconsciously through the mechanism of nonverbal communication. The other person is going to receive that information unconsciously. And therefore, I would say, and where's my next handy dandy picture I made here? Here we go. I'm going to say, I've got this saying that we are constantly, unconsciously training, teaching other people in how to treat us. I know this sounds like a lot, but I think it's true. So if you think that you are not worthy of love on an unconscious level, right? Your behavior will change, and the way you communicate will change, and the meaning, either immediately or over time, will be communicated to other people that you don't think it's worth buying this, or you don't think it's worth paying that price for it. It's not worth it. And I would suggest that you will be treated in relation to that deeper feeling that you have about yourself. All right, let me see what people are talking about, because I know I just threw a lot out there, and I'm not even sure if it made sense. I hope it did. It kind of made sense to me. Let's see if it made sense to you too. All right. Let's see, where are we? Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Janice Nickel, just put that up, is saying, I'm working on self-love daily now and have compassion for self. I had previously been beating myself up on this daily, so I've come a long way. LOL, laugh out loud. Okay, so that's something you said in there I think I really want to call attention to, because I think it's an excellent point you made. You talked about how you were beating yourself up. If we go back to the idea of the baby and children, those of you who have children, those of you who have children in your extended family, or maybe you're close with children, or you teach children, or what have you, there's so many people, when I ask them, like in a one-on-one session, and I say, and I hear the language that they're using to describe themselves, it's very kind of cruel, harsh, rigid, kind of unloving language that they use toward themselves, kind of like beating themselves up. I asked them if they would ever speak to their daughter, or speak to their son, or speak to any child that way, and immediately you get this like, well, no, I would never do such a thing. And yet, I don't know how it happens exactly, but we develop this kind of inner nasty critic, that looks at our body in the mirror when we come out of the shower and says the most vile words to describe how we look, that describes and criticizes based on our performance and look what we have to show for life, and this will never be the way I want it to be because fill in all the blanks. But we would never speak that way to a child. So yes, that part, Janice, that you talked about in there about beating yourself up, my goodness, this is how, one of the ways I think we know that we're not loving ourselves as much as we can. And I think, kudos to you for recognizing that and beginning to shift or change that. Because here's the thing, we are all like clay, and we are the potter. So if you're being cruel to yourself, if you're criticizing yourself, if you're beating yourself up, your hands are fashioning that clay into something that's going to be sort of grotesque, that's going to be non-functional. If, on the other hand, you are speaking to yourself the way you might speak to a small child, lovingly and kindly, and maybe if you make a mistake, or maybe if your body doesn't look the way you think it should look, or maybe if your life isn't where you think it should be right now, you still speak to yourself with that same kindness, that same sense of positivity and that loving aspect. I say now your hands have shifted into the loving hands of a potter, which over time will fashion things that are functional, things that are beautiful, things that are unique. You and I, we are our own greatest hypnotist. We create our realities through our thoughts. And one of the things that makes this really tricky is that the things that happen to you, the traumatic things, so it could be, God forbid, it could be some kind of abuse that you suffer, even as a child. It could be you go through family trauma. It could be that you're criticized, maybe in front of the classroom, and the whole classroom laughs at you, and the teacher doesn't really do anything about it. All of these things can kind of set up this sort of what I would call a negative or a dark path or a dark track. And none of us is immune to this. And I think in a way, this life almost seems like trying to come full circle to that person we were when we were a baby, fresh in from wherever we came from, with that beautiful smile on our face, sleeping soundly and peacefully at night, coming back to that full circle, like remembering who you really are, remembering that inner magnificence, and beginning to dwell in that so that the outer aspects of your life start to reflect that. So one of the things that I have quoted many, many times, and I'm going to quote it again right now, is from the Hermetic laws or the Hermetic principles. There are 7 of them. And one of them is called the law of correspondence. And that law states, as within, so without. What it means is that if let's just take relationships because that's what we're talking about. If you have a relationship that you don't like, if you have a relationship that has gone wrong or bad in some way for you, in other words, it's causing you pain, my belief is that the law of correspondence applies, that there's something inside of me that has to change so that I have a different outer experience. And that whole discussion a little while ago about body language and about how we're teaching or training other people in how to treat us, not consciously, unconsciously, is just one example of how what's inside of you gets reflected back to you. Right? So just if I'm angry, bitter, I was just denied a promotion, if my girlfriend just left me, if I just had a death in my family or whatever, and I was just angry and bitter, and that day I said, have a nice day. Well, the way you respond back to me is probably going to be a reflection of what I just put out to you. I see this as one of the most empowering concepts I can imagine, because it tells me if I'm having an experience in my life that is painful, that is something I don't want to be experiencing, that ultimately I have control over that. If I'm able to find and change whatever it is that's going on inside of me so that I project something different out into the world, and therefore I receive something different back, right? The law of cause and effect, that's what we're talking about. All right, let's see what else we have here. Oh, awesome. Legal Eagle 44 is saying, I have to be very aware, in caps, that what I have, degree, car, home, means nothing when it comes to my worth. Our work together made a huge dent in that. Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Legal Eagle. I really appreciate that. And you know, kudos to you, and some applause here, that distinction between who we are, think of that picture of the baby, and what you do. Those are two different things. And in my conception of this, and look, this is just the way I view this thing, and it's what I've noticed with my clients that seems to be enormously successful for them, is that when you get to this point where you, and I'm not saying it's perfect, you don't have to be perfect, I'm surely not, but when you get to this place when you feel that deeper kind of inner love, and we'll talk about how to do that in a little while, then the outcome, which is very Buddhist, the outcome doesn't matter as much. You know, and what it means, I've had clients say to me things like, you know, went to see a hockey game, used to rise and fall. My emotions used to rise and fall based upon the rise and fall of the fortunes of the team, even play by play. And suddenly it was like almost detached, was able to just kind of watch the game for the enjoyment of the game, but didn't feel crushed when the team lost, and didn't feel like walking on cloud nine when the team won. And on the other side of that very same coin, when things would happen, other things would happen in the personal life of this person, didn't feel like they went into the tank, felt like they could stay in this place of equanimity and see it for what it is, keep moving forward. In other words, wasn't paralyzed by fear of failure, wasn't paralyzed by things not going their way, wasn't paralyzed by criticism anymore. And as I've quoted before, and please forgive me for those of you who heard me quote Rudyard Kipling before, but Rudyard Kipling has a poem called If, I-F. And I remember getting this poem as part of just a stock birthday card when I was 12. And it says in this poem by Rudyard Kipling, if you can treat success and failure as the imposters they both are, that is success. And I remember that having a massive impact on me at the age of 12. And here I am, you know, almost 60 years old, still thinking about it. I think it's true. I don't think, it's not easy, but I don't think we have to rise, and fall, depending on what's happening out there. As long as we're taking care of business on the inside, tending to our garden of who we really are. Great point, Legal Eagle. Thank you for making it. All right, let's see here. Veronica Cruz. Hello, Veronica. In my journey back to self-love, acceptance and honoring the just being are always coming forward. Yeah, that's very well stated, I think. Eckhart Tolle, whom I've quoted here before, does a great job in The Power of Now and in his other books of talking about just being in the present moment, just being in the present moment. You know, and there's that kind of silly, but in some ways very descriptive calling out of the term a human being versus a human doing. Yes, we do things, but it doesn't necessarily have to affect our being, right? I mean, if I score a goal in a game, or I get a raise at my job, or I buy a new car, I don't think that makes me a better person. And if it's true that that doesn't make me a better person, then why should it make me a worse person if I don't score the goal, if I don't get the new, the raise or the promotion at work, or I don't buy the new car? Shouldn't those things be kind of irrelevant? And back to the travel mug and relationships. If I really do believe in that travel mug, if the first sale I made when I took the job was to myself, and I really do believe in the travel mug, in other words, I really do believe in myself, I really do love myself, I really do believe I am worthy of love, am I not going to be communicating that message to whomever I come into contact with all the time? Isn't that going to change the outcome? Am I not going to get reflected back to me, more or less, what I'm putting out into the world? And doesn't that mean that I have more control over this? All right. Thanks, Veronica. Okay, here we go. Now we're getting down to brass tacks here. Cheryl Blanton says, amen. I usually pick people that aren't really available to me. Okay, this is something that I hear a lot from women, particularly from women. So, if we were to just have a one-on-one conversation, Cheryl, and we were to say, all right, so why do you think that is? You might say something like, well, I might have a deep fear that if they are available and we do come together, that person's gonna leave me. Or they're not gonna be kind to me. Or it might be, and a lot of these things, they're all happening at the subconscious level, so you may or probably may not even be aware of it. Maybe you're punishing yourself for something, and you don't believe you're worthy of someone who is available for you. And whatever that software programming is that's running in your mind, it was created at a moment in time, it probably was the result of some type of a trauma, and your subconscious mind is just playing this out over and over again. And who feels comfortable to you? If you meet 3 different people, who's going to feel comfortable to you? The one who's not available. That's going to feel like home to you. And I've used that example of like a thermostat before. If you want your house to be, say, 68 degrees Fahrenheit in the wintertime, and you have your thermostat set to 56 degrees, well, we know what happens, right? As soon as the temperature starts to coming up, hits 56, maybe even 57 or 58, furnace shuts off. And you keep having the same experience over and over again. This is part of what I was talking about with what are your relationship patterns. So your relationship pattern, what you're saying is that you keep choosing people who are not available to you. So the next question is, why? And I don't expect you to know the answer consciously, but rest assured there is an answer. Patterns just don't keep unfolding without programs underneath them that runs that pattern. Right? It's out of sight. We can't see, taste, touch, hear, or feel unless you're a software coder. The code that's actually running the computers that we're using, but we all know that that's what the case is. And that's certainly the case for you. So in order to change this, we'd have to figure out, why are you doing this? Where was it created? At what time? And then reverse that. And when I say reverse it, what I mean is reverse it where it lives. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that when you were a little girl, something happened between your parents. Like, I'm totally making this up because I don't know you at all. But let's just say something happened between your parents. And you took the message that relationships aren't safe. And when I say you, I mean your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind may be trying to protect you now by keeping you out of relationships because it thinks if you get in one, the same thing is going to happen to you. Or maybe you did something in the past and you think that that thing was so heinous that you don't believe you're worthy because you did this bad thing of love. And so the subconscious mind follows that pattern. It's like having the thermostat set at 56 degrees. Or maybe you were criticized growing up. You were criticized for how you look. You were criticized for your intelligence. You were criticized for some other reason. And so the subconscious mind says, oh, we're set at 56 degrees. That's all we deserve. And so your conscious mind is going, hey, wait a minute, I want this. I want someone who is available to me. I want a white picket fence. I want blah, 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 blah. And it feels like I'm sabotaging myself. Well, the sabotage would just be that your subconscious mind was set at that 56 degrees instead of 68 degrees. And it's probably doing it because it thinks it's protecting you, or it thinks that this is who you are. This is what you deserve. Excellent comment. Really appreciate that one. Okay. Oh, Cheryl is just saying, I'm the common denominator. Yeah, so that obviously allows us all to conclude that you are awake. You know, that you have rationality, you have humility. And instead of saying, because you could easily say, you know, all men are, or, you know, all so-and-sos are what? And the reason why I can't have the experience I want is because other people won't give it to me. Because they're all bad. There's something wrong with them. But that's not what you're doing. You're now looking at yourself and you're saying, wait a second, once, maybe, twice, okay, 3 times, no, it's gotta be me. And now starting to look inside. And in my experience, over 14 years of working with lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people one-on-one, you have the ability to ascertain what is causing this dynamic. I promise you it was created at some point in the past, probably as a result of a trauma. And that in your mind, one of the ways of dealing with this is you use hypnotic regression to go back in time, in your consciousness, to when this pattern was created for the first time. And keep in mind that this could have been created in a past lifetime. And if it was created in a past lifetime and you go, oh, past lifetimes are all BS, and you don't go there, it may be something that you're struggling with. The second thing that anyone can do immediately, you can go to my YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't already done that, folks, BlueSky Hypnosis, is you can go to a track that I have on there. I've got many of them, but one in particular is I am worthy of love. And flood your unconscious mind with the thoughts, suggestions, images, messages of self-love until the new, the self-love, pushes out the old, not worthy of self-love. It's kind of like a brute force approach, but it can actually work. If that doesn't work, then you have to just go deeper. You have to, which in some ways is ideal, and that is to find where this was created, neutralize, resolve, heal it where it was created in the past, and then flood the mind with these messages, images, thoughts, and suggestions of radical self-love until, like seeds in the fertile soil, they take hold, they germinate, and begin to grow into something strong. Okay. I really appreciate your comments, Cheryl. Thank you. Here's Dara. Hello, Dara. Peter, I feel I'm accountable to love others, having realized that I've been getting the feedback all my life, choosing to leak a sense of love and compassion from an abundance for myself. Yeah, well, and this just came up today, actually, Dara, with one of my clients, that if you're able to love yourself fully, doesn't that give you the ability to then spread that around? You know, if you feel like you have an abundance of corn that you've grown on your property, or an abundance of eggs that your chickens have hatched, doesn't that give you an expanded ability to now spread that around to other people? In the fire department, we are always trained that our first responsibility at, say, a fire or a car accident is to ourselves. Second, to fellow firefighters. Third, to bystanders. And fourth, to the victim. Because if one of us gets hurt, we have just multiplied the problem and put more people at risk, more people in danger. They talk to us ad infinitum about don't show up if you're sick. Don't show up if you've got a broken ankle. We don't want you. You can't be of service. You can't help other people unless you are more or less whole. That's kind of the message that we always got with that. So I think that's part of what you're saying here, Dara, and I appreciate your comments. We are one. I used to feel guilty, let's put that up. I used to feel guilty for putting my own needs over other people's. I felt selfish. Now I know that no one is going to care for you the way you need to be cared for and loved except yourself. Okay, so if we go back, and I'm not completely disagreeing with what you're saying at all. In fact, I agree with almost everything you're saying. If we go back to the law of correspondence, which states, as within, so without. If I want to have a particular experience in my outer world, and there are three main areas of our lives, this is what I say, all right? So maybe somebody else knows a fourth or a fifth or whatever, but I say the three main areas, more or less, that I've encountered over the years is your health. So that would be your mental health and your physical health. And the second area would be finances, work, business, that sort of thing. And the third area, relationships. These are the three areas that if somebody's got an issue in one or more of those areas, they come to me. So if you go back to the law of correspondence and you're thinking of life as I'm just getting a mirror image back to me of what's going on inside of me, then if I love myself fully and completely, I'm more likely to experience that on the outside. And okay, this is cool, thanks for your comment. If I say, whose responsibility is it for me to feel the kind of loving feelings I want to feel? Whose responsibility is that? I would submit that kind of what we're taught in this culture is that it's someone else's responsibility. We just have to find the right person in order to give us that feeling that we want to feel. That's not how I look at it. The way I look at this is I'm responsible for creating those feelings inside of myself that I want to feel. And then law of correspondence says, if I do that, I'm likely to have the experience outside. And that to me seems like the way I want to live. I want to have those experiences on the outside, but I don't want to be, ideally, I don't want to be leaning on other people and getting upset with them if I'm not having the feelings I want to have. I want, as to the extent that I can, to take responsibility for those. So, thanks for your comment. Oh, here's Janice Nicole saying how she came to the realization that she was beating herself up. And she said, to tell the truth, it was a new friend of mine that gently pointed out to me. She said, wow, you were very hard on yourself. So yeah, I mean, thank God for the friends, right? And thank God for relationships. My goodness. There's a quote that I wanted to read to you, and thanks for that, Janice. I was listening to a podcast a couple of months ago, and there's a life coach in California, very, very accomplished. His name is Peter Crone, and what he said was that when you have pain in a relationship, what it's doing, and other people have said this too, but his quote I just thought got right to the point. He's saying that the universe, that life will present you with people and with circumstances in the form of pain that will reveal to you where you still are not free. So if we go back to the baby for a moment, just lying there in this glowing state of love, that's the only way I can describe that phenomenon. That baby, I'm saying, is bringing those kinds of, that kind of awareness of his or her inner magnificence with them. And I think we have, even as adults, the ability to step into that self-same awareness of inner magnificence and those feelings of love. And if my programming is telling me that the only way I can get that is on the outside, by having a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a husband or a wife. And I acquire one of those, and I feel that way, and then all of a sudden, after the initial glow of love wears off, that kind of crazy, beautiful period in the beginning, I'm not feeling that anymore, and I get mad and say, don't you know I want to feel this way? Why aren't you giving it to me anymore? It's kind of revealing to me, in Peter Crone's words, where I'm not free. If I'm dependent on someone else to give me something, then by definition, I'm not really free, am I? Whereas if I'm able to give that to myself and then share this back and forth with this other person, then it seems like I've developed some kind of freedom. So I love his quote, that life will continue to present you with people and circumstances that through pain will reveal to you where you still are not yet free. I also love the way the language is constructed. It's beautifully constructed hypnotically, because it presupposes where you are not yet free, that you will become free. I will become free. We will all become free. I believe that's the path we're on. But I don't believe that path is a path of dependence. I believe it's a path of independence. And that paradoxically, again, kind of like Buddhism, when the outcome doesn't matter so much, your body relaxes. You feel more present, more focused, and hence you tend to perform better, whether as an athlete or as an actor or a singer or a business person or a parent or even as a lover. So, let's see what else we got here. Here is Tony Johnson. And Tony is saying, I have noticed that it is challenging to hold my own peace when others don't act, talk, be like how I wish they would. I do understand that is a control issue. Learning to keep my peace no matter what. Yeah, I cannot agree with you more, Tony. I can't agree with you more. One of the things that I talk about in my practice is how, and these are extreme examples, but it can be useful in illustrating the potential truth that lies within, that there are people living in very modest circumstances who are very content, very happy people. They're not on any kinds of psychoactive drugs in order to try to bring them back to some kind of happiness or some kind of contentment or some kind of peace. They're already there, and they're living in very modest circumstances. There are other people who are living in mansions who are literally suicidal. I think the wisdom of the ages has always been that the answer is within. That's truly where peace and contentment and joy and love resides. I mean, we've all heard the phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink. So you could demonstrate the same kind of love for person A that you do for person B, that you do for person C. And one or more of those people might feel the feelings of love inside that you have been trying to quote unquote give them. And another person might still feel like crap. You could lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. I think in this metaphor, the water is always available to us, but we don't realize that we have the agency to drink from it. And maybe we don't even know how to do it. And that's what I think we should talk about next is, okay, for those of you who are with me on this, maybe you think this is making some sense. Maybe you think, okay, so how do I do this? All right, well, I alluded to it before by saying that the software in your mind, your belief system, your thoughts, and you have 20 to 90,000 thoughts per day. You're only aware of approximately 3% of those thoughts. The other 97% are just going on in the background, a blizzard of thoughts. Some of those thoughts are empowering thoughts. Some of those thoughts have produced a kind of life, aspects of your life that you really like. But there are some of those thoughts that are limiting beliefs, some of those thoughts are actually taking you down the road you don't want to go down. That's where your thermostat is set at 56 degrees Fahrenheit instead of 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So one of the methods of changing these things is to change your thoughts. Okay, how do you do that? Well, the state of meditation is the exact same brain state as the state of hypnosis, is the exact same brain state as the state of deep prayer. So whether you call it a mantra, or you call it an affirmation, or you call it self-hypnotic suggestions, it almost doesn't matter. That it's imperative, I think, for all of us, whether you use these amazing modern tools that we have right now. You go onto YouTube, go onto my channel, BlueSky Hypnosis, and you'll see 140 some odd videos. And many of them are kind of like virtual sessions on a variety of different topics. And you can start to program your mind. You put on headphones, or in most cases, you just have it on a speaker and play it in an ambient sense. Some of them you do while you're sitting in a chair and you just checked out. Others you're doing while you're sleeping. You're sleeping anyway. Why wouldn't you want your mind to be flooded with the kind of thoughts you want in there? Think of them as seeds that you're spreading down on the fertile soil. And the other slide that I made today is part of this. It's part of this point, which is the word discipline. The word discipline in our culture has a negative connotation, I believe. I think when people hear the word discipline, somewhere in our mind, we're seeing a very mean school teacher with like a whip in her hands, you know, or being told that you're getting detention, or you know, in sports you're going to have to run punishment laps or do punishment push-ups. And so in our minds we get this twisted, like this tool that we have as humans that I think is crucial to bringing excellence in all aspects of our lives, has been conflated with punishment. And who wants that? Like, that's crap. You know, whether it's working out, or it's building your business, or it's programming your mind, or it's having an active social life, you know, or it's going to bed on time, or it's eating the right kind of food. It all involves a degree of discipline, but I think it's time that we begin to change the meaning in our minds of that word, from there's somebody with a whip that's going to hit us, to no, this is a powerful tool that I have to allow me to bring my unique gifts into the world and share them with everyone else, to walk on my golden path and to live the kind of life I want to live. It's not going to bring perfection, but it's going to bring the kind of life that I want. And the thing about it is that it's so incredibly empowering. Like, no one can prevent you to use your own discipline. And in this context where we're talking about reprogramming your mind, yeah, it's easy to put on the headphones or to place a speaker there and press play on I Am Worthy of Love. But it still takes discipline. Oh, I forgot. Oh, you know, my husband doesn't want to hear that. Or, you know, there's so many other things that, I mean, there's so few excuses, but we'll find them. I mean, I've done it myself, right? To all of the things that we know are good for us. But I think it's time, and this is a crucial aspect. The tools are there. You know, you can have, you know, the home gym in the basement, but if you don't use it, if you just hang your clothes on it to dry, it's not going to do you any good. It's the discipline, which in a way, if we start to associate discipline with self-love, I know that this is good for me. I know my body's going to love eating this way. I know my body's going to love working out. I know my body's going to love going to bed at a certain time. I know my mind is going to love filling it with thoughts, images, messages, suggestions of everything self-love, and then that's going to affect my life, law of correspondence, with what's reflected back to me. If we start associating the word discipline with self-love, maybe we'll start to get somewhere. All right, see what else we got here. Oh, cool. AW, she just ordered Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. Fantastic. It's an amazing, amazing, amazing book. Would recommend it to everyone. I can't wait to hear, AW, what you think of it after you read it. Let's see what else. Soft Breezy Day. Hey, hello, Soft Breezy. I've heard before that those of us who have relationships with people who are not really available, maybe because that's how we grew up. Then we learned that love means having to strive to be noticed. Or maybe, she goes on to say, not means, rather includes. Yeah, I think that's perfect, and it's kind of a derivation of what I was saying before. So you go from a baby, and if you say, okay, baby, what do you need in order to feel love? If the baby could speak English, they'd say, you're a lunatic. What's the matter with you? They wouldn't even understand what you were saying. It would be like saying to a Native American, we want to buy that tree. We want to buy that piece of land. We want to buy the mountain. It'd be like, what do you mean you want to buy it? How can you own part of the earth? It's part of the earth. You know, like a baby would think we were absolutely insane if we thought, okay, well, so if I become a successful baseball player, if I become a successful actor, which was my strategy when I was younger, then people will love me. No, you just step into it. So this is another way of describing how you do this. So if you were in my office, or if we were working one-on-one, you know, over Zoom, and you gave me some of your history, some of your background, you told me some of the things you like, some of the things you don't like, you told me what it's like to, you know, in the times where you have felt love or you felt successful, you tell me where you like to be in the world, where you feel just, oh, I just feel so good in this place, a beach or up in a mountain or something. And I have you, I bring you into a state of hypnosis. And a state of hypnosis, all it means is a focused state of concentration, where parts of your brain that were lit up now go dark, other parts of your brain that were dark now light up. The creative, emotional centers of your mind are now activated. And I start through language walking you through some of these words that will evoke feelings inside of you. It's very likely that sitting in a chair, you know, in your living room, you will start to feel the feelings of love. Start to feel the feelings of accomplishment or pride or all the other adjectives that we could use to describe this train this train track that I'm walking down now. Now, I didn't, you know, magically give you success in your business. I didn't magically give you your perfect mate or partner. But through language, I was able to help yourself create those feelings inside. So, and we probably all had that experience reading a book or watching a movie, or in particular in dreams. Like you have a dream that you're with, you know, your dream lover, and you're just taken away. You're just floating on a cloud. And you wake up and you're like, oh damn, that was a dream? Well, while you were dreaming, you're having all those feelings, weren't you? Without having the physical reality of that person in your life treating you that way. My point is that if this can be done in a hypnosis session, if this can be done when you're on that perfect beach, if this can be done when you're watching that movie or reading that novel, or when you're having a dream, then why could you not do that either for yourself in a meditative or self-hypnotic practice, or by listening to one of these audios? And the crazy thing is, it can actually happen at the subliminal level. So go on to one of the many sleep hypnosis tracks I have. I have quite a few for weight loss. On my channel, you remember what it's called, BlueSky Hypnosis on YouTube, and just read the comments. Read what people say. And one of the fascinating things that people say sometimes, actually, is and I want to delve into this deeper at some point, they talk about having bad dreams. Now they're listening to something, all they can hear is rain. Everything on the track is self-love, losing weight, eating healthy food, gently exercising the body, treating yourself with kindness. Now, why would you have a bad dream? Why would you have a bad dream? Unless what's happening is the dirty, black, gunky, crappy water is here, and now this clean spring water, pristine water is coming in, right? And it's starting to sort of commingle with it and push the other stuff out. And as it's coming out, the person's having this experience as a dream. You know, I had a naturopath who helped me save my life, and she said, if the toxic crap is coming out of your body, in my case, it was creating like these hives and welts, itchy and red. She's like, keep going, get it out of you, don't stop. Like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wow. So you can do so much of this. You know, you have inordinate amounts of power on the inside. You have the ability to change how you think. And as you change how you think, you change how you feel. And as you change how you feel, you change the decisions you make. Instead of deciding, and it's really more like a reflex, to choose people who are unavailable, suddenly you're choosing people who are available. I have a couple of cases that I want to talk about. And I actually worked with one of these clients earlier today. And I was saying, you know, I'm wanting to talk about some of your experiences. I'm not going to use your name, of course. And it's like, yeah, please do. Well, so I had this guy I was working with, and I think I've mentioned him on this channel before about how he really, like, his whole life, he had never been in a relationship that hadn't ended because the woman just said to him, no more, I'm gone, I'm done, I want to be with someone else. Not once. What we worked on was a lot of stuff, but the primary thing that we worked on with respect to relationships was, I am worthy of love, flooding his mind. And this person is incredible when it comes to the discipline piece. Absolutely incredible. He's still listening, you know, after doing this now for a couple of years. And for the last, I don't know, year, maybe longer, his experience has flip-flopped. And his biggest problem now that he describes to me, and that actually causes him quite a bit of turmoil because he's a really nice guy, is when he realizes that the person he's dating isn't gonna be the one. What do I do now? Like, what do I do? Because I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to hurt her feelings. That's more of his struggle. But his sort of, you know, his love life is like totally different, 180 degrees different. And his professional life is also vastly different. You know, I talked before about when you're interviewing for a job, all of that unconscious nonverbal communication is leaking out. You're training, you're teaching other people how to think about you, how to treat you. And if you change what's going on inside of you, your nonverbals will change in concert with those new thoughts. And you'll be training and teaching people how to treat you in a totally different way. And he is absolutely having that experience, 100%, across the board in his life. It's absolutely remarkable to watch this. And then there's another client in particular who had been in this situation where gone years without a relationship, years. And from the outside, from a physiological standpoint, no one could understand why. Beautiful, smart, kind, like what? Help me understand this. It was because of what was going on in her mind, what was going on in her heart. And as we shifted and changed that, again, it was like magic. It was like, bang, within a few months, there it is. Boom, relationship. Happy, content. And it wasn't like, you know, no bumps in the road, no winding path. Of course, we're still humans. And there's still the echo in her mind of the old way and little things that we needed to work through along the way. But things can change and change rapidly if you do these deeper changes. And what I would recommend, again, and I know I'm repeating myself, so please forgive me, but I think you start with, you know, unless your situation is kind of extreme and you really want to put a lot of attention on this, start with some of these tracks. You know, commit to it use discipline every night for a month. Listen to these tracks. You know, whether you're trying to lose weight or whether you're trying to love yourself, and I think loving yourself is a precursor to someone else loving you, and see where you are at the end of a month. You know, flood your mind, change your thoughts. If that's not working, it's very likely that there is a deeper trauma in there that is kind of presenting a roadblock. And we would need to figure out, what do we do to identify that roadblock, and what do we need to do to move it out of the way, so that as you flood your mind with those thoughts, it's reaching fertile soil and you're not throwing these seeds on asphalt. All right, let's take a few more questions. And before I do, I just want to give a little pitch to next week. So next week, I want to try something entirely new. I have no idea if it's going to work. I have no idea if you guys are going to like it. If you want to give me some feedback before today's broadcast ends, I'd really like that. But what I was thinking is maybe we would try just doing kind of a round table. Just have an open format, an open forum where we just start doing this stuff, doing this sort of comments, questions, answers, and going back and forth on that. And if you want to submit comments or questions prior to next week, then I'll have kind of a queue lined up of things that we can use to sort of prime the pump. If that doesn't happen, I'll probably come up with a few. It's not going to be as interesting as if you guys do it, but you know, on any topic. So if you want to talk about past life regression, if you want to talk about spirit guides, if you want to talk about soul groups, soulmates, if you want to talk about weight loss in all of its different forms, if you want to talk about using hypnosis and hypnotherapy as an adjunct to your physical health, if you want to talk about it for conditions, you know, as an adjunct, again, as a complementary adjunct to things like cancer and migraines. If you want to talk about it in relationship to having abundance in your life, abundance, say, of financial means, a successful business, a good job, not worrying about money. If you want to talk about it in regards to relationships, you know, all of these topics and more will be wide open. I'm just going to create this, as I say, just try it for a week and see how it goes. So I hope you guys will consider joining us here on this Friday live at 5 next week, next Friday at 5 o'clock, and bring your questions with you. Feel free to pose them ahead of time, and I'll just keep track of them and address, you know, the ones that I think are really gonna kind of spark more of a conversation. All right, so let's see what else we have here. A couple more. Excuse me. Let's see. Here's somebody new here, so I'm going to jump in. I don't even know. I haven't read the whole thing, but Quantum Generator is saying, and I haven't seen you yet, Quantum, so thank you for being here and thank you for making a comment. For some people, marriage is like landing a dream job. Then a couple of years later, demanding half ownership in the business that hired you. Wow, that is hysterical. That is really funny. You know, I would say, I'm going to cop to this. I'm going to say that was my programming. That's what I believed. I think I believed that if I just found the right person, then everything else would be fine. I really wouldn't have to do much of anything. I could just, you know, I wouldn't have to maintain friendships. I could just focus on my wife, focus on my kids, focus on work, and everything else would take care of itself. And I think that was wrong. I think it was like trying to lean on someone else to give me these things that I don't know, like I was too lazy or I was too something to just do for myself. You know, I really do kind of agree with what you're saying here, that because I feel like I lived it, and I feel like now I have a different attitude, which is, you know, my new attitude is that I need to be responsible for every aspect of my life and not put that responsibility on my significant other. You know, not to put my social life responsibility on my significant other, not put my happiness on her shoulders, but really to take responsibility for all of that through discipline. And I mean that in every area. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, so please, the diet, exercise, sleep, establishing and maintaining my own friendships, my business, doing, keeping up responsibilities around the house and so forth. All of it. I think I am the one that's responsible for all of those things, and I'm this lucky guy that gets to share my life with this wonderful person, rather than leaning on her as if she is some kind of a crutch, and I'm thinking that my leg is broken or something. So I really like that comment. I resonate pretty deeply with what you said, and I appreciate you saying it. All right, see what else we got here. Okay, Valerie Nelson. And Valerie, if you're new, because I can't remember if I've seen your name before, but if you're new, welcome. And thanks for your comment. I don't know if it's generational, but I have tried putting myself first, and it feels so uncomfortable. I get the whole theory of taking care of me first, but yes, 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 yes. Excellent. Let me just applause for that comment. We do what feels comfortable. That's generally how we operate as human beings. And what feels comfortable is what you have experienced many times in the past. Maybe what you grew up with or what you brought in from a past lifetime, that's what's going to feel comfortable. It doesn't mean that it's healthy, right? It just means it's familiar. What is familiar tends to be comfortable, especially if what's familiar has been repeated over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And if you have in your mind that you are not totally worthy of love, that other people are more important than you, and what it could be, Valerie, and I've seen this with a lot of female clients. I'm not saying this is the case for you because I don't really know you, but it's possible. And I'm going to just ask you these questions. Is it comfortable or uncomfortable for you to receive things? For example, is it comfortable or uncomfortable to receive gifts? Is it comfortable or uncomfortable to receive help? Is it comfortable or uncomfortable to receive compliments? And if you were to turn around and say to me, I like giving things to other people and that feels comfortable to me, but receiving it, that doesn't feel so good. Obviously, there's some kind of an imbalance. Now, what's creating that are your thoughts. Where were your thoughts created? They were probably created earlier in this lifetime, maybe even as a child. Or they were created in a past lifetime, where you somehow got the message that other people's feelings, other people's welfare was more important than yours. And so when you get into those circumstances, what feels comfortable? Giving. Does receiving feel comfortable? No. And that creates this imbalance. It's almost like in the breathing cycle, which requires a receiving, inhale, and a giving, exhale, that one of those is like, nah, it doesn't feel so good, the receiving part. So if you close that part down, it actually is harder to give. If you just take that kind of simple breathing model as an example. So if we were working together, what I would want to do is I would want to help you find where this paradigm was created. Earlier in this life, in a past life. What were the circumstances that created that paradigm? Reverse the belief where it lives, which is in the past. It's like an earlier version of you is walking around thinking that it's good and right for her to give, but it's not good and right for her to receive as well. She's the one who needs to be healed, brought up to speed. Once she's healed, and we don't know what kind of trauma created this, we would then want to integrate her inside your consciousness with you so that you are more whole, full, and complete, and you're not struggling against that old feeling. In the meantime, I would suggest that going onto my channel, BlueSky Hypnosis on YouTube, and subscribe if you haven't, and look for I Am Worthy of Love. There's an 8-hour subliminal version. You just play it while you're sleeping. All you hear is the sound of rain. Couldn't be easier. There's also an audible version of this. It's much shorter. It's about 30 minutes. And do those. Do the audible one during the day, maybe not even every day. Do the subliminal one every single night for at least a month. Reassess where you are at the end of that month. And determine for yourself if things are beginning to change. In other words, your outer actions, or your outer actions beginning to change? Are you in certain circumstances where in the past you would have gone left, but now you find yourself going right and it feels effortless? That's where we know things are really starting to change for the better for you. So thank you so much for making that comment. This is an example, everybody, of how you guys are really driving this thing, and it's way more interesting than if you rely on me to just come up with all the things that could be valuable for people to hear in a conversation. So thank you. Let's see here. Yeah, and Valerie's just going on to say that that she has seen over and over again that money does not bring happiness. And yeah, I mean, that's another, I think that's another element of hypnotic programming that we've received from society, that somehow if we just make a lot of money, I've thought this in the past, that if we just make enough money, then we will be able to have the experiences and particularly the feelings we want to have, right? That we have to do other things before we can have those feelings. That's not true. There are plenty of unhappy people that have a lot of money. And there are plenty of happy people that don't have a lot of money. I'm not saying having a lot of money is bad. I'm just saying to think I'm going to go out there and get that thing, bring it back so I can have the feeling I want, is the behavior of a drug addict. Rather than just saying, why don't I just go into meditation? Why don't I just press play on a program? Why don't I just do self-hypnosis? Why don't I pray and give myself those feelings? Because look, the other thing I want to say about this is your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what you and your conscious mind says is fact and what your conscious mind says is fiction. This is why, and I'm going to keep saying this because it's important, when you go see a movie, the movie is promoted, it's marketed, it's advertised as a seat of your pants roller coaster thrill ride. Why? Because the two-dimensional image up on the screen, the video of the movie, is creating physiological and psychological changes inside of you. Why? Because your subconscious mind cannot discern the difference between a two-dimensional image up on a screen and really being in that car chase, really being in that shootout. It can't discern that. And that's why you're gripping the armrests of your chair in the theater. That's why your heart is pounding. That's why you're dumping adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. So if that's true, and you don't even believe anything else, don't. But at least hold on to this truth, because it's a scientific fact, that if you feed yourself the opposite, if you feed yourself feelings of love, and let it be consistent with whatever your philosophy is or whatever your religion is, whether you think it comes from God or the universal intelligence or the collective unconscious or your superconscious or your higher self or an angel, whatever, it doesn't matter. If you feed yourself this, your body will feel it. Your mind will treat it as true, the subconscious mind. This is key to understanding how to reprogram. So I hope that makes sense. All right, let's see this. What time are we at? Okay, take one or two more. I love this. Right, what can I say? All right. Jose Cruz. You know, this makes Jose is a friend of mine, and I think of Jose Cuervo, like, Jose Cuervo, you're a friend of mine. So it's good to see you, friend. I would say, rather, money is not a guarantee of happiness, especially if your basic needs are met, because lack of it, for the most part, basics of needs will most definitely affect you and others. Yeah, great point. So if you take Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we all need the very entry level, the basic needs of food and shelter and warmth and clothes. We need that met. That you're absolutely right. That has to be met before you can move up the pyramid. And you acknowledged it in what you said, that it's not a guarantee of happiness. And I remember reading a study maybe 2 or 3 years ago that said at the time, and I know there's inflation and everything, but 2 or 3 years ago, the magic number was $70,000 in the United States. That if you made $70,000, you were at the maximum level of happiness, because all your basic needs are met and there's a few extras that you can get, obviously. And anything above that, they said, did not produce any measurable increase in happiness. And there was actually a guy who was an owner of a company, I think it was in Colorado, and he slashed his own salary. He was making like 1 point whatever million, and he slashed his own salary to 70,000. He raised everyone else in the company up to 70,000, so everyone made 70 grand. And it made this huge ruckus and uproar because I think it frightened all the other business owners that they were gonna have to pay their people 70 grand and that they were gonna have to take a pay cut. But that was all based around this concept that yes, you need your basic needs met, maybe a little more, and that after that, there's no incremental gain in happiness, even though we think there is. I often wonder, why do some of these billionaires in our culture keep like striving for more money? Like, to me, they are suffering from what people who are physically obese are suffering from, right? Because a physically obese person needs that certain baseline of food to sustain their life. But obviously they're going way above that. And they're doing that because probably they're trying to deliver some kind of feeling to themselves, maybe temporarily, but they want a permanent feeling, and the food gives it to them temporarily, and then they take more and more and more. And I kind of think the same thing is the case for these billionaires. They've got the kind of money that their grandchildren's grandchildren couldn't spend in a lifetime. And yet it's like acquire more, acquire more, acquire more. I call it like a financial obesity. All right, good to see you, Jose. Glad you're here. Glad you are here. Hope we get to see you in person at some point in the near future. Okay, so Francisco is throwing me a softball here, which is, how would one become a client of yours? I could use the exact help you describe. So you get the triangle. Easiest way to do that, Francisco, is just go to my website, which is BlueSkyHypnosis.com. It describes, everything about that. It allows you to sign up if you want for a free 20-minute consultation. It allows you to sign up for an initial session, which I do 90-minute sessions. That's my basic session. Short session for me is an hour, which I do, and a long session is 2 hours. And if you do the initial session, you can then get a much better idea at the end of that 90 minutes. Okay, is this work for me? Do I believe in this? Do I think this is for me? And if so, sign up for a package or something. And if you don't, you just go on your way. I would say most people, after they do one session, continue on, because most people, when I get a chance to really dig deep with them, they see and feel the logic in all of this. So BlueSkyHypnosis.com. Thanks for asking the question. Okay, let's see if there's anyone here. Here's Tony again. Tony is saying, this is truly powerful information. We are all on a journey to self-love. Thank you so much. Well, you are welcome, Tony, and thank you so much for being here. Certainly appreciate that. Kelly is here from Belfast, Ireland. Outstanding. And then AW is saying, my relationships so far have been just so disappointing, but I'm still trying to find it. Okay, so what I'm really intrigued by this, because I love working with people who are dealing with this kind of thing. I just actually worked with a brand new client this week who's in the exact same situation. And by the end of our 90 minutes together, you could see the change in her face. It's like it could change entirely from this feeling of like hopelessness to this feeling like, okay, I get it. Now we just need to work toward it. So when you talk about, I think you said sort of like search it, still trying to find it. What you might mean is find it inside. Because I really believe this, that it's the finding it inside that helps you to find it on the outside. So whatever is creating that pattern for you, because you're describing a disappointing pattern, whatever is creating that disappointing pattern for you is something that we would need to figure out on the inside. Change the pattern, change the outcome. And I think, AW, if I'm not mistaken, you had said something in an earlier chat session in a much earlier live that there was something about ending relationships, that you started to feel like you weren't in control anymore. If that's the case, if my memory is correct, and it may not be, then that might give us a clue as to where and what is causing that pattern, that thing about control. right? There's probably something right inside of that if it were changed, it would change the pattern, it would change the outcome. Wouldn't of course bring perfection, but it would bring you more of what you're looking for and less of the disappointing stuff. So, thank you. All right, let's do one more. Hey, somebody else is from Scotland. Wow. British Isles. In this case, I know Belfast is part of Britain, right? Or Great Britain? So I'm not trying to make a comment about the south of Ireland because I know that's its own country. Marie Hogan. Hey, Marie. Welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad you're here. Let's do one more. Let's see. Here's a new person. I haven't seen you before. Marcella Ort. So Marcella, if you're brand new, welcome. Welcome to the Friday Lives. Glad you're here. Marcella is saying, having listened to your emotional eating program for several nights, I am released, maybe pleased to see you live. I have been afraid that when the phone rang, I might start clucking like a chicken. Now I feel better. Oh, I like that one. That's awesome. Thank you for adding some humor to my Friday. All right, I promise, last one. And before I address this last one, I just want to thank everybody. Thank all the regulars for being here. I really, really love seeing you guys every Friday. It definitely warms the heart. As I said before, the way you support each other is just more than I could hope for, more than I could have imagined at the beginning of all of this, and it's something that really brings a great deal of joy. Just seeing how kind you are to each other. And for those of you who are new, welcome. I hope you'll consider coming back and becoming a regular, and hope to see you next Friday on this kind of experiment of having this more open roundtable. Try one Friday like that and see how it goes, where come with questions, ask questions that occur to you during the roundtable. Send me some questions ahead of time so I can prime the pump. If nobody does, then I guess I'll come up with my own. I can't guarantee they're going to be as good as yours, but I will work on it. All right, so here we are. Mond Falcon is saying, and I'm actually going to do one more because there was one above that had a question. So Mond Falcon says, when we are born, we need that other to love us, otherwise we would not survive. I believe the search for love and acceptance is a survival instinct. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. That's very interesting, and I'm going to consider that one. I mean, I would take slight issue with theoretically somebody doesn't have to love you in order for you to survive. So a parent or a caregiver could make sure that you had clothes and food and shelter, that bottom level of Maslow's pyramid, but they wouldn't necessarily have to, hold you all the time. They wouldn't have to tell you that they love you. They wouldn't have to look at you lovingly. They wouldn't have to, cuddle with you. I mean, it would really stink, but they wouldn't have to do those things and you could still survive. Now, to the other point that I think is really intriguing, the point that you make is our need for love part of a survival instinct? I guess you could argue that, I mean, certainly you said acceptance. I could see acceptance being a kind of a survival instinct. Absolutely, in fact. In fact, I would agree with you entirely that we want to be accepted by the herd. We don't want to stand out. I've talked about this before. And I think that that's one of the things that limits us and holds us back, is that if we start to really succeed, it's that tall poppy and we're worried it's going to get cut off, or it's not going to be accepted by the rest of the herd. And to not be accepted by the herd is dangerous. So you're 100% right, I think. Is love a survival instinct, though? That one, I'm not really so sure about that one. Because I think there are times when we can feel immense feelings of love. We could feel love for a dog. I certainly do for my dog. And I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with my survival instinct. Or I could feel love for a tree, or for the planet, or for a place. I suppose a person could feel intense, incredible feelings of love when they're on their deathbed and there's nothing they need from anybody else. So I'm not really sure about that, but it's a really intriguing point. I love the other points you made and love to consider that. So thank you for that. So, all right, last one, I promise. Z Granger, she or he has a question, and it says, I have a question for you. Is your 8-hour sleep, permanent weight loss, subliminal hypnosis, will that help with emotional eating? Yes, that is designed to help with emotional eating. I have another track, it's specifically for emotional eating, and they come at it from slightly different directions. But all of those tracks are built around, if you think of a target, like an archery or a riflery target, you got a bullseye and then you got the other concentric rings that go out. So the very center of those tracks are built around self-love. Because I think that is more important than anything else. And that if you get that right, then you're well on your way to solving a whole host of issues. Now, the rest of those tracks will be slightly different from each other on the exact messaging that's in there, but they will all have as the core the self-love piece. So yes, on the permanent weight loss, although if you're dealing with emotional eating, I would suggest just go to the 8-hour subliminal for emotional eating, because that tackles that one head on, where the other one might get at it sort of peripherally. So again, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. I hope you guys all have an awesome weekend. I am going kayaking this weekend on a kayaking adventure. I can't wait to do this. I think I might do some video from there and post it. I think I might give a shout out to some of the regulars here on the channel. We're going to be way out in the wilderness for a couple of days, so it does feel like a real adventure. And I hope you're going to be having adventures of your own this weekend. And I hope that I will see all of you back here. Bring your friends with you. Bring your questions. Bring your comments next Friday, live at 5 Eastern US. See you then. Have a great weekend. Bye.